I'm so bad at saving, too broke for rental. This cost of living is driving me mental. Wanna move out, get away from parentals. Don't forget to invest, I'm feeling stressed. Cause what if I can't retire? I'll probably just expire. Can someone give me an answer? And keep it simple, keep it simple, keep it simple.
Hey Soap, what are you gonna talk about today?
Today we're gonna talk about emotional spending.
Ooh, emotions.
It-
So deep.
Is this our way of warming up? It's fine, we'll just go with it. Yes, that's right. We're gonna talk about emotions. But this is not a therapy session unless you wanted to share something.
I mean, this would be cheaper than therapy, but
This is completely free, actually.
in
so-
fact, I'm being paid to do this. So I've been doing a lot of CB spending. I mean, that sounded a bit wrong.
No, go on. Everyone knows the CB I am thinking about specifically. So this is actually related to that solo episode I did where you weren't around. It was very sad, but it was basically me talking about my own spending habits during work from home. So maybe I should ask you first, Pris. How's your spending been?
Actually, I was doing really well. The first
Was?
the first 2 weeks of CB, and then the last week I was like going crazy because I knew I would have to like go out into the outside world. So I was like giving myself an excuse almost to I need new clothes. So, and people are gonna see me now, so I'm gonna buy it.
Wait, so this was
Yeah.
like 2 weeks before phase 2, is it?
Yeah, correct.
2 weeks before phase 2, which was like a month ago-ish.
Yeah, so the last month
Oh, okay.
I've been
Mm.
spending a little bit more.
A little?
Yes, a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah.
What have you been spending on?
I mean, honestly, my weakness is like food and clothes. I mean, yeah, very generic, right?
Yeah, but I think that's the thing people spend on the most. For me personally, it's food.
Yeah, especially with all the baked goods. Can you like all the home-based baked goods?
Yeah.
Like-
Since like circuit breaker started.
Like I've
There's
seen
been a
like
lot, yeah.
$50 brownies. Who buys?
Excuse me? 50
Yes,
do-
$50 brownies. Temptations are everywhere.
Yeah.
And you know when like you just need a good plate of brownies, and then Instagram pushes that ad to you and was like, don't you need this speculoos biscoff fudgy brownies?
Very specific. Very specific, yeah.
Yes.
I think it partly has to do with how, like I mentioned in last season's episode, where I was just talking about my own spending. I think it has to do with how we feel, and how we feel influences what we do with our money. This reminds me of a paper I read that you actually linked me to, I think about a month ago or something, where it was about the victims of Hurricane Katrina and how natural disasters affect our spending habits. So basically, in a nutshell, what happened to these people after they experienced the hurricane, which is horrible, right? Their spending habits became more impulsive and even compulsive. They interviewed the victims, actually. They were like, oh, so why did you buy this and that? And these are like big ticket items, huge expenditures. And there was a victim in particular who said something like, oh, I'm spending because I want to regain a sense of control in my life. Which I found interesting because I think that's relatable to most of us, even though we haven't been through like a hurricane. I think this whole pandemic situation has brought out some new spending habits as a result of how we're affected by this COVID-19 crisis.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty similar, right? I think COVID-19, it is natural, I think. I mean, if you don't listen to conspiracy theories, it's natural.
Yeah.
And it's a disaster.
And it's
and-
quite stressful.
Yeah, and something that we literally can't control.
Yeah.
Like all these measures, like being put on lockdown or like being forced to work from home to keep ourselves like safe. These are all things that are out of our control and quite stress inducing.
Yeah, I mean, even though we like wash our hands, put on the mask and go out, these are things that we do to protect ourselves, but it's not really contributing to like I don't know, getting a vaccine or stopping the virus.
Yeah.
So, and the fact that we all suddenly had to start working from home, that's also a huge change. So of course this situation is stressing a lot of us out. Naturally, it would have a negative impact on our mental health,
Yeah,
right?
it's just a lot of changes, a lot of like routines that were disrupted, a lot of uncertainties, like with your career or with your health. Yeah, I totally relate to it.
And because of that, I think everyone has different coping mechanisms, but I feel like a percentage of us, our coping mechanisms are to spend money, which leads us back to emotional spending.
She's talking about me.
No, I'm not, but if the shoe fits.
It fits too well.
But don't get me wrong, I mean, this is not just about negative emotions. Emotional spending can also come out of like happy emotions. So it's not just about like, oh, only when shit hits the fan, then I start spending like crazy. That's not true, because if you're happy, if you feel like there's something you can celebrate, I mean, it depends on the person, right? But for me personally, when I'm like super happy, I do like spend a bit more. Sometimes I spring surprises on my friends, like, by the way, I'm buying this meal, and they're like, what the f? So that's a thing.
Yeah, I guess it's like, well, I'm feeling pretty good, like I'm in a good mood. Why not I make this mood even better by spending? Just yesterday I bought like a bunch of pastries, remember?
Yes.
And yeah, because I was in a good mood, and then I brought it over to my boyfriend's place, and I
Yeah.
showered them with pastries.
Because you were just in a good mood.
Yeah, and I just wanted to do something nice, but it was an impulsive buy for sure. I mean, occasionally I think it's fine, but yeah, it's been happening a bit too often.
Yeah. It's pretty clear that we can both relate to the problem of emotional spending.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I have a story about how my spending changed during like when I was really stressed.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah, it's not due to any like natural disasters or anything like super dramatic.
So this was before COVID lah.
Yeah.
How
like,
long ago?
Way before COVID. Like, so I'm 26 now, and then it was like 5 years ago.
So you were like 21 years old.
Yeah, like the period lasted from like 21 to 22.
So what happened?
Around there. So it was due to like external stresses. Like at that time I didn't feel that my career was like going anywhere, and then like I felt that my relationships weren't really like they were like kind of toxic at the time.
You're talking about like dating?
Like my family, dating.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
friends, no, not really. I didn't really have any issues with friends.
I thought you were gonna say I didn't really have any friends, so I had no issues.
Why you gotta call me out?
Sorry.
But yeah, so it was due to all these like external stresses, and then at that time I had like a few health issues as well. I was dealing with like quite bad eczema, and yeah, at that time I really wasn't feeling great about my life, and
Right.
I felt like my self-esteem and my self-worth were like at an all-time low. So what did I do? I spent money that I didn't have.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
I didn't go into debt, but I certainly did not save any money.
Right.
Yeah, so I like went to try to spend money. I impulsively like went to try to change my outer appearance. Like if I was feeling bad that day, maybe I will like impulsively go and dye my hair, or like
In Singapore.
Yeah, in Singapore.
That's expensive.
Yes.
Tell
it was
us
like,
how much it costs, because
I-
I've never dyed my hair before.
Oh,
It's true.
really?
It's true. Yeah.
This is legit new information.
Yes.
Wow.
You can reel
You're
it.
like a hairdresser's dream.
Huh. Thank you.
Yes.
Not every day I get called that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So dyeing your hair, how much did it cost?
Yeah, so I went and dye my hair, and then at the time I had like super long hair, and then it was like, whoa, clean, $200 off. Like, whoa.
So expensive.
Yeah, whoa, impulsive $200 spending.
So how often did you impulsively dye your hair?
I did other stuff as well, like I would perm my hair, or like I would try like eyelash extensions. I'll try other like beauty services. Like,
Did you do all of that in one day, like as
No
a
lah.
feel good day?
No,
or
no,
like-
no, no. It was like it was like a like a hit, like a hit of something good.
Oh
like,
my god.
It was really addictive. Like, cause I felt good for like
How long?
a few minutes, and then
Huh? You only felt good for a few minutes?
yeah, because then I would like think about how much I spent and be like, oh, I did that.
Okay, but you'd think that negative emotion of like, oh, I did that, would stop you from doing it again. But I guess you just needed to address how you felt about yourself more.
I was trying to control, like have some sort of control in my life. Like the paper said,
yes,
I wanted to have some sort of control in my life by taking control of my outer appearance in an attempt to make my inside feel better. Yes, I thought that changing my outer appearance would make my inside feel better.
Right.
But when I walked out of that salon, my self-esteem didn't become any better. Let's just put it like that.
And that just kept going for like a whole year, right? You were saying?
Yeah, a whole year. My God.
Wow. How much do you think you spent in that year?
Should be like few thousand, like 2,000 plus.
Wow.
Yeah, because I really didn't save anything in
Right.
that year. But I also didn't borrow money. I didn't do anything like that. But
no one was thinking that until now.
yeah, because like, I feel like, wow, someone might think that I went into debt over like eyelash extensions, which is like crazy.
Okay lah, but thankfully it would be a crazy story and headline to read, but thankfully you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not. That was where I drew the line. I didn't want to borrow money.
So why did you stop doing that? When you turned like what, 22?
Yeah, actually, like I'm not sure when exactly it fully like stopped or got better, but I remember there was a clear correlation between like my personal life getting better and my impulse spending getting less and less. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So it just naturally got better.
Yeah. I would say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like this is not new. I feel like I think a lot of people can relate to this story, because when you don't feel good on the inside, you want to compensate, but you can't change how you feel on the inside. So naturally what you do is work on the outside.
Yeah, like everyone tells me this thing like, oh, like after you break up with someone, then you go and cut your hair.
This is a thing, right?
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah. I think that's actually a very classic example, I feel.
Yeah.
Like you just have to change something to make you feel like, okay, you're in a different place now.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a new you.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But at that time, I wasn't changing at all. Like nothing around me was changing except my appearance. Actually, it was only after many years after that period of my life where I realized that it was just a coping mechanism to cope with like what I was dealing with at that time. And you know what? I think that if someone told me that I'm just using changing my appearance as a way to deal with my emotions at that time, maybe like I would have stopped earlier. Like just being aware that I was using those things as like kind of a band-aid. Yeah,
that's a good point. I guess this could be helpful to whoever is listening, because honestly, listening to you talk about this also makes me think about how I've been feeling for the last few months. And again, I've already elaborated quite a bit in my last episode on season 1. That's episode 4, by the way, if anyone was wondering, where I basically just talk about how I've been spending a lot of money on video games and I keep buying presents for friends. I'm still doing that right now, even though we're not really working from home. We're like half and half, you know. Some of those changed spending habits still follow me to this day lah. So I think for me, it's not really because of like self-esteem or image issues. It was more like I feel really depressed and cooped up, and then I have to. So every time it hits, like it doesn't even have to be like a bad day at work. I could have had a perfectly good day at work, but still feel like crap because I'm at home all the time.
like isolation, right? I feel that it's the isolation.
It is the isolation. And then I would just end up like, oh, I feel too isolated, too depressed to go out and buy food. So I just end up like ordering food because like I don't want to leave my room. It's like too much effort because I'm sad or something. That's how I responded to my emotions. I think.
Right.
Yeah. Although at the time, I mean, every time I did it, I was quite aware that it's a response to my emotional state inside. Just that. I didn't know how else to make myself feel better, you know.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I mean, when we're faced with something that we literally cannot change, it's like we find the most convenient thing to make us happy, right?
Yeah. So going back to your previous point, what you mentioned was interesting because you said if you had realized that what you were doing, you know, how much money you were spending was a coping mechanism for how you were feeling inside, you would probably have stopped. I think it's not so simple for everyone because maybe for me personally, I kind of figured that my spending was a coping mechanism for my emotional state pretty easily, but we should try and talk about how else we can stop emotional spending to help other people along.
Yeah, I think most of our listeners, y'all are still pretty young, I assume. I mean, at 21, I felt like I couldn't identify my own emotions and I couldn't identify what was like the trigger. So for me, my self-esteem was a trigger for what would make me think about spending. So when I learned that the root cause was my emotions, I could then identify what was the emotional trigger and then better deal with that by, you know, replacing spending with something else, like going for a walk or like take a nap, something, you know.
Whatever works, whatever stops you from pressing the buy button, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good first point. So we're talking about how to kind of stop emotional spending. So the first point, like Pris mentioned, is to understand what your triggers are. What are the emotions that will lead you to feeling like I should spend money right now in huge amounts?
Yeah.
I think some alternatives also to build off on that, other than taking walks or talking to somebody about it, maybe if you feel like it's getting too much, you can always consider like things like therapy if you can afford it.
Yeah, there are places that offer free counseling sessions or subsidized counseling sessions. We'll include more information in our podcast recap and show notes.
Yep. For all those like free resources.
Yeah, or subsidized ones.
Yeah, so, okay, number one, identify your triggers and try to find an alternative way to cope, right? And I think there are some other tips that we can provide.
Yeah.
This actually came out of a Forbes article, which I found quite useful. So I picked out like 5 tips that I thought were the most relevant to us. So the second tip would be to, you know, if you're inclined to spending emotionally, you want to make it as inconvenient for yourself as possible. If you want to put a stop to it, I think another method is to unsubscribe from mailing lists.
Yeah, that's one of my triggers as well. I mean, right now, so like whenever I see mailing lists, I'm like, oh, she looks so good in that. Like that could be me in 5 seconds if I buy it right now.
Yeah, immediately the dress will just show up at your door in 5 seconds.
Yes, but do I look like her? Like doubtful. I'm doubtful.
It's marketing.
It's
marketing.
I'm a sucker for it.
It's okay, this is a judgment-free zone. Anyway, I think, you know, having that one extra step can go a long way. Yeah, so unsubscribe from your mailing lists. Okay, if that doesn't work for you, then maybe you need a budget buddy.
Ooh,
yes,
spicy.
Why is it spicy? It's just
I don't know. It's like
strictly platonic. Another tip that you could use is to, I don't know, this is mainly catered for those who use like credit cards. You know, leave your credit cards at home when you go out because if you have to draw cash from the ATM, that's one extra step. And that might motivate you to spend less. But this is when you're like when you're outside.
Yeah. I think that this is only helpful after you've hit the spending limit for your credit cards. Because I know that I use my credit cards to hit the spending limit to get that extra interest or cashback. So once I hit the goal amount, yeah, I think it is a useful tip to like just leave it at home. Yeah.
That's interesting that you are less likely to spend after you hit your, what do you say?
The cashback, like that amount that you have to hit. No, it's like I'm not saying that I am less likely to spend. I'm just saying that this would be helpful after I hit that amount. Because to hit that amount, I will just spend on necessities probably. Yeah, I will budget out to hit that amount.
Yeah. So yeah, for those who use credit cards, leave them at home.
Yep.
Make it just a little bit. I mean, if you know that you're inclined to spend when you walk by and window shop, then I think this is a good method.
At the same time, it's like, just don't spend money that you don't already have.
That's a very good point. And on that note, as we're still on the topic of cards, another tip is to stop saving your card information on shopping sites. I've never done this before, so I think it really helps that I have to key in, all my digits of my like debit card or whatever just to buy things. It makes me, it forces me to spend that extra minute or 30 seconds to think about like, Sope, do you really want this? Do you really want this?
Yeah, I know, right? Obviously, Sope has not camped for any hype shit.
Obviously.
Yes, because if you don't save your card info, you can't get that overhyped shit.
Oh, you mean like those online launches?
Yeah.
Yeah, can't relate.
So like there's this brand that I camp for, like when they like launch a new collection. I'm not gonna say what brand. The initials of the brand are SNO. You can jumble it up to like, it can be like NSO, Okay, so sponsor, please sponsor. And then, their stuff sells out like so fast. I can't even see the measurements or like consider what color to buy. You just have to be freaking decisive. So I think because of a lot of practice camping for that brand's like launches, I helped my boyfriend camp for some hype things. And then I managed to buy it. He and his cousin couldn't buy it, and I was like, thank you NSO SON NSO for all that training.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a great story.
And I saved my card info for all these, so I guess
which proves my point, right?
Yeah.
It's a very good story that shows saving your card info is really, it will make a difference in your spending. So to sum up, these are some of the tips that we've pulled from the Forbes article that we feel could be useful to you guys. So let's go through the tips again. What's the first one, Pris?
Identify your triggers and what will trigger you into going towards spending, thinking about spending to make yourself feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second tip is to unsubscribe from your mailing lists. You can even do it right now as you're listening to our voices.
But wait, later. Don't click off yet.
Oh, that's true. We still want to talk to you.
Yes. Okay, then next one, get a budget buddy to stay accountable.
That's right.
Please do not choose people who just want to see the world burn and ask you to buy everything in 5 colors.
She's talking about herself.
Yes.
The next one, leave credit cards at home when you go out. Make it harder for you to spend money if you have to end up drawing money from like the ATM.
Okay, this is like rich coming from me. Like, so ironic, but don't save your credit card info on shopping sites or Google Pay.
She's telling
PayPal.
herself. You should see her face right now.
Yeah, I'm like, yes, I get it. I'm wrong. I'll go home and delete.
Yeah. So
maybe.
So yeah, these are some of the
baby steps, guys.
Baby steps. That's right. Hopefully these tips will help you to curb your emotional spending. And for sure, I'm gonna be watching myself a little more closely after this, because I am still doing a bit of that sometimes. Even though we're out and about now, it feels a bit more normal than before, even though it's not completely back to normal.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna unsubscribe from all my mailing lists, unfollow a few Instagram accounts, and get someone to tell me to stop spending.
I'm gonna follow up with her on that, so
yes.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
That's a wrap on another episode of Keep It Simple. Leave us a review on any of our platforms and remember to subscribe to us for more episodes.
We publish every Friday because it's the best day of the week. So stay tuned and see you next time. Until then, keep it simple.